You worked for 40 years. You showed up. You paid your taxes. You raised your kids. You did everything the system told you to do. And now, you're 65. You sit down with a financial advisor. They pull up your accounts. They look at the screen. Then, they look at you with that expression. Not quite sympathy, not quite pity, something in between. The number on that screen, representing 4 decades of your labor, is $88,400. That's it. Half of everyone approaching retirement has less than that. Today, we're going to talk about what the average American actually retires with, why the real numbers are far darker than anyone advertises, and exactly what separates the people who retire with dignity from the people who retire with quiet financial terror. Some of this will be uncomfortable. Good. Uncomfortable truths are the only ones worth hearing. The financial services industry loves its commercials. Smiling couple, sailboat, golden retriever on a beach. What they won't show you is the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, because that data tells a completely different story. For American households where the head is between 55 and 64, the median retirement savings is approximately $134,000. That's the final working decade, the last stretch before the finish line. And half of all households in that range have less than that. By the time those same people actually retire, between 65 and 74, the median drops further to around $88,400. It goes down because people start spending immediately while Social Security takes over as the primary income source. Now here's the number the industry hides behind. The mean retirement savings looks much healthier, closer to $400,000, until you understand why. It's not because most people are doing well. It's because a small number of households have accumulated enormous wealth, and they're dragging that average upward.
When the mean is $400,000, but the median is $88,000, that's not a success story with a few outliers. That's a crisis with a few winners. The bottom 50% of American households aged 55 to 64 have effectively zero retirement savings. Not low savings, not modest savings, zero. Entirely dependent on Social Security, family support, or continuing to work through what were supposed to be their retirement years. That's not a statistic, that's a life sentence. Let's do the math nobody wants to do. 4% of $88,400 is $3,536 per year, $295 per month from your life savings. Add the average Social Security benefits of roughly $1,900 monthly, total monthly retirement income approximately $2,195, $26,000 per year to cover housing, food, healthcare, transportation, and everything else. The federal poverty line for a single person sits around $15,000 annually, so the median retiree technically clears that threshold, but clearing the poverty line is not the same as living well. It means you are one car repair away from a financial crisis, one medical bill away from choosing between prescriptions and groceries, one appliance failure away from credit card debt at 68 years old. Meet Sandra, 66, widowed, 39 years in office administration, retired with $92,000 and a Social Security benefit of $1,847 monthly. Her entire budget is consumed before it arrives: rent, Medicare premiums, groceries, utilities, car payment, medications. Zero discretionary income, not a little, zero. When her car needed $1,100 in repairs last winter, she skipped a month of medication to cover it. When her refrigerator died, she put it on a credit card she's still paying off. When her grandson graduated high school, she couldn't afford a meaningful gift. Sandra is not living in poverty by official measures, but she is living in financial precarity, where every single month is a calculation and every unexpected expense is a small emergency. This is not a worst-case scenario. This is the median retirement experience in America right now.
The cruelest part, an additional $200 monthly in savings from age 30 to 65 would have given Sandra over $300,000 instead of $92,000. But nobody showed her the math in time. The future felt distant, the present felt expensive, the savings never happened.
The gap between a comfortable retirement and an anxious one isn't created by one catastrophic decision. It's created by 5 quiet, invisible behaviors repeated over decades. The first is never starting. The most powerful factor in retirement outcomes is time in the market. Someone who invests $300 monthly starting at 25 will accumulate dramatically more than someone investing $600 monthly starting at 45. The early starter has 40 years of compounding working silently in the background. The late starter has 20 years of desperate catching up. Someone who saved just $200 monthly from age 22 to 30, then stopped entirely, would have more at 65 than someone who saved $200 monthly from age 40 to 65. 10 years of early investing beats 25 years of late investing. The math feels counterintuitive until you understand how powerfully compounding rewards early action. The second is the savings rate collapse in middle adulthood. Many people who start saving in their 20s quietly reduce or eliminate contributions in their 30s and 40s. Children arrive, houses get purchased, lifestyle expands to consume every available dollar. The retirement contribution becomes temporarily paused. That temporary pause extends for years, sometimes a decade. By the time contributions resume, the compounding window has quietly closed behind them. The third is cashing out retirement accounts when changing jobs. When people switch employers, roughly 40% cash out their retirement accounts instead of rolling them over. The immediate cash feels real, the long-term cost remains invisible. A 28-year-old who cashes out $15,000 from a 401k after the 10% early withdrawal penalty in income taxes might walk away with $10,000 in hand. What they don't see is what that $15,000 would have become over 37 years of growth. At 8% annual returns, that's potentially over $250,000 at retirement, gone for $10,000 cash. The fourth is assuming catching up will be easy later. Someone who wants to retire at 65 with $500,000 and starts saving at 25 needs to save approximately $285 monthly at 8% returns. Someone who starts the same goal at 45 needs to save approximately $1,200 monthly. Most people cannot quadruple their savings rate in their late 40s. Their expenses have solidified, their lifestyle has calcified. The assumption that catching up would be possible later proves catastrophically wrong. The fifth is poor investment behavior among people who do save. Many workers keep their 401k contributions in default money market funds, earning 2 to 3% annually. Someone investing $400 monthly for 35 years at 3% accumulates approximately $295,000. The same contributions at 8% accumulate approximately $870,000. The investment choice alone creates a $575,000 gap. Both people saved the exact same amount. One retires with nearly triple the wealth simply because of where their money was invested. Wealth destruction doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a default fund selection you made 15 years ago and never revisited. The gap between $88,000 and $500,000 wasn't created by income, it was created by behavior. Consider two workers, both earning $55,000 annually throughout their careers. One saves 5% in their 401k with a 3% employer match. One saves 15% with the same match. After 35 years at 8% returns, the 5% saver has approximately $470,000. The 15% saver has approximately $1,080,000. Same income, same employer match, same number of years, different behavior. $600,000 in different outcomes. The additional 10% of income equals approximately $460 monthly, roughly $15 per day. The daily cost of a comfortable versus precarious retirement is roughly the price of a modest lunch. So what did the comfortable retirees actually do differently? They automated contributions before they built expensive lifestyles. The money moved from paycheck to retirement account before they ever saw it. They built their spending habits around what remained, rather than trying to save whatever was left after spending, which for most people is nothing. They maintained age-appropriate stock allocations throughout their careers. They didn't panic during market downturns. They held diversified, low-cost index funds and let time work without interference. They managed debt aggressively. They entered retirement with little or no consumer debt, no car payments, no credit card balances consuming fixed income that should fund living expenses. And critically, they planned for health care. A couple retiring today should expect to spend approximately $315,000 on health care throughout retirement. For someone with $88,000 in total savings, health care alone could consume the entire balance within a decade. Comfortable retirees knew this number. They planned around it. The median retiree discovered it too late. Here's what changes everything about this conversation. The math that created the problem works in reverse, too. If you're in your 20s or early 30s, you have the single most powerful asset available in personal finance: time. Start contributing immediately. Capture every dollar of employer match. Increase your contribution by 1 percentage point annually until you reach 15%. Invest in low-cost index funds. Leave it alone. Avoid early withdrawals regardless of how tempting immediate cash feels. The $10,000 you cash out at 28 could cost you $250,000 at 65. That's not a metaphor, that's compound interest arithmetic. If you're in your late 30s or 40s with some savings but behind schedule, increase your savings rate aggressively now. Audit every lifestyle expense that doesn't provide meaningful value. The subscription you forgot about, the car payment on a vehicle that's more status than transportation, the restaurant meals that feel like small decisions but add up to large ones. Once you reach 50, the IRS allows catch-up contributions to retirement accounts. Use them, every dollar. If you're in your 50s with little saved, hard choices become necessary, but the situation is not hopeless. Saving 20 to 25% of income may be required. Working into your late 60s or early 70s becomes likely, and honestly, not the worst outcome. Each additional working year both adds savings and reduces the number of years retirement must fund. Delaying Social Security until 70 increases your monthly benefit by roughly 8% annually for every year you wait past full retirement age. That's a guaranteed 8% return on a government-backed income stream. There is no index fund that offers a guaranteed 8% with zero market risk. Someone with nothing saved at 50 who begins investing $500 monthly at 7% returns accumulates approximately $127,000 by 65. That's 40% more than the median retiree. Combined with Social Security and potentially part-time work, it creates options that zero savings simply does not.
Here's the part nobody talks about enough. The median retiree didn't reach $88,000 through terrible decisions. They reached it through delayed decisions. The perpetual "I'll start next year" became "I should have started years ago" before they fully realized what had happened. Behavioral economists call this present bias. The human brain dramatically overweights the present and dramatically underweights the future. A dollar today feels more real than $10 in 30 years, even when the math clearly favors waiting. This isn't weakness, it's wiring, but understanding it is the first step toward overriding it. The retirement system, as currently designed, requires individuals to make optimal long-term decisions while being constantly bombarded with short-term spending signals. Buy now, upgrade now, treat yourself now. The culture is engineered for consumption. Retirement savings require the opposite instinct. The person who accumulates $500,000 by 65 isn't smarter than the person who accumulates $88,000. They simply found a way to automate the right behavior, so their present bias never got a vote. The automatic contribution that happens before the paycheck hits your account removes the decision entirely. You cannot spend what you never see. That single structural change is responsible for more retirement wealth than any investment strategy ever created. Learning that the median retirement savings is $88,400 triggers two reactions. Some people feel motivated to change behavior immediately. Others feel fatalistic, concluding that if most people fail, failure must be inevitable. The fatalistic response is understandable. It is also completely incorrect. The median outcome results from median behavior. Different behavior produces different outcomes.
The top quartile of retirement savers has over $500,000 accumulated. The top 10% exceeds $1 million. These people don't have dramatically higher incomes than everyone else. They have different financial behaviors maintained consistently over decades. The gap between $88,400 and $500,000 isn't created by income. It's created by consistency, priority, and time. All three remain available to anyone learning this information before they've retired. One principle applies universally, regardless of where you currently stand. Action today beats optimal action tomorrow, every single time. The person watching this at 25 and adjusting behavior immediately could retire with 5 times the median savings. The person watching at 40 and making changes could retire with double or triple. Even the person watching at 55 can meaningfully improve their trajectory from here. The only true failure is understanding the stakes clearly and choosing not to act. $88,400 represents the cost of default behavior. It doesn't have to represent your future. Here is the honest summary. The retirement crisis in America is not a mystery. It is the predictable result of a system that profits from your participation, not your outcome, combined with human psychology that is wired for today, not for 30 years from now. The commercials will keep showing the sailboat, the golden retriever, the perfect sunset. What they won't show you is Sandra skipping her medication to pay for a car repair at 68 years old. You don't have to be Sandra, but avoiding her outcome requires intentional behavior, not wishful thinking. Automate your contributions. Increase your savings rate by 1% this month. Leave your investments alone during market downturns. Eliminate debt with the urgency it deserves. Plan for healthcare costs like the 6-figure expense they actually are. None of these steps require a high income. None of them require a finance degree. They require consistency maintained quietly over a long period of time. The math is not complicated. The behavior is. If this gave you a clearer picture of where the average American stands, and more importantly, where you could stand instead, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Not to alarm them, to give them time to do something about it. Because time is the one asset you cannot buy back.